today I want to talk about handling your player character's deaths. This video was inspired by a blog post written on D&D Beyond by Michael Galvis. I will have it linked in the doobly-doo down below. So the first thing that the article starts talking about is being careful about how your players die. And I actually have a personal example of this. Really early into my D&D career, I was going to play Ganlar the Cleric. I wrote a complicated backstory, and we were like level 3. And in session 2, the DM put us up against a Gorgon that uses its vision. It's an AoE blast that if you fail a con save, you're paralyzed for one turn. If you fail a second one, you're turned to stone. We're level 3. We do not have greater restoration. So this Gorgon blasts us. I get unlucky with my 2 constitution rolls and my character's dead. Still had full HP. Second session, it felt terrible. It was like, okay, I just spent all this time building this character and it died in such a stupid way. And there was no counterplay, there was nothing I could do about it. It felt like garbage. I did not enjoy that session. And so that's what we try and avoid as a DM. So a big piece of that is going to be balancing your encounters for the situation. I do have a video on balancing encounters, some suggestions for beginners all the way to expert players, so you can check that out here. If a death happens, we really want it to feel like it was hard fought. We want it to feel like maybe they made mistakes that led to that death, that they had other options and it just kind of happened this way. We really want to try and avoid those deaths that just, you get hit a single time and you're gone. Those don't feel good. Now, let's say that mistakes are made, a death happens, but we don't want it to actually happen. It feels anticlimactic. Really, D&D's always coming back to the story. And so we want to change that feeling from being, okay, that felt like crap, to, oh, that's really cool, now we're getting an interesting story out of this. So this article gives a bunch of different examples on how to bring an ally back from death and cool storytelling options we can use. So the first one is a deal with a patron. Patrons take all sort of interest in party members and adventurers, and there's a whole bunch of different kinds of patrons. We have warlock patrons, we have gods, we have devils, demons. And so when someone dies, they might make a deal that they come back and now they are indebted in some way. Maybe they're only back for a certain amount of time. Maybe the god wants them to complete their mission. Bonus points if that mission revolves around their backstory, which is the second suggestion this article gives. So say that you have a character who's on a quest of vengeance, and you have a patron who's maybe the god of vengeance. That patron might say, well, I want you to fulfill your quest. So I'll bring you back to life until that moment that you complete your quest. And then they can say goodbye to their allies, finish their character story, and be laid to rest. So you can delay death for later for the sake of the story, which I think is really cool. Other cool storytelling options is maybe the character dies and the allies bring back the body to a cleric who can no longer cast Revivify but has an idea. Kind of a mad scientist type vibe, wants to bring them back to life using science. So it's very unnatural bringing them back to life, and it works. The ally comes back to life through this machinations of science, very Frankenstein-esque. But now the Lady of Death is really pissed off because that was unnatural. You just brought back someone from the dead without even using clerical magic. You just brought him back with science. That cannot exist. So now you have a pissed off god coming for that character and the cleric who created them. Could be interesting storytelling. That's really what it all comes back to. Can we make the storytelling more interesting? Other options is maybe they died to one of your villains, and maybe that villain, instead of finishing the fight, uses them as collateral to get what they want, to make a deal. Hey, I'll bring back your ally if you let me finish creating this sigil. Whole bunch of different things you can do with that. It really depends on who the villain is, but storytelling galore. Another interesting option is giving them the option to dive into the underworld to save their ally. Let the player play another PC for a while and go dive in and collect the soul of their old ally and bring them back forcefully. Again, interesting storytelling, interesting world building, and now you can have pissed off demons who want to get them back. But what if they do die? What if we decide that the best storytelling in this moment is to have their death? Well, first off, give them a lot of control over the moment they die. And it doesn't matter if we have to rewind time and retroactively do this. It's worth it. So giving them the option to talk about what they think and what they feel and what they want to say right before they die. So they go unconscious. What are their last thoughts? What are the last things they want to say before they take their final breath? Give them that moment. And then open up space for this death. Open up space for there to be a funeral. How does the party lay to rest this character? What did they do to celebrate their life? And then throughout the campaign, you can kind of harken back to that character. The article gives you advice saying, well, maybe that was a druid who died, who liked a particular bird and would transform into that bird whenever they needed to scout or whatever. And as a DM, you can kind of take note of those small little flavor things and just tell the party that, hey, on your travels to the next adventure, you see that bird hanging out on a branch, watching you travel. Just a little harken backs to the importance of those characters. And that is really what the article brings. And I just kind of want to give my final thoughts. That as a player, I've had good deaths that I loved, and I've had bad deaths that I hated. I've told you the one I hated most, but I've had deaths that I was so dumb, and I was excited because I purposely was dumb and I got punished for it. And I liked it. I enjoyed it. It's always really cool when my dead character gets called back to. For example, the same DM who gave me that terrible death, I stuck it through, created a new character. The second time my character died in that campaign, the DM had one of the NPCs promise that he would fulfill the goals of my character, and even took a piece of my character's body. He turned into a demon, so he had like claws. So he took one of those claws and used it to slay the final villain. That was epic. Really cool. Great on that DM. And I've also killed characters as a DM. I've done almost every single one of these situations, being I've killed people anticlimactically, I've killed people and brought them back, and I've killed people climactically. Just like that other DM, I've hit every note as well. So I've made the same mistakes that I was upset at. And it's a talent. You know, Matt Mercer is actually really, really great at this. He is able to bring characters back with drama. So he is able to make the world feel like there's danger, even though he protects his PCs, because we want to have that full story. He's amazing at balancing those two aspects, because we want our PCs to feel like there's weight to their decisions, but we also want them to get the story they're looking for. And that is a fine line to walk. Go too far in one direction, they don't take the world seriously, and go too far in the other direction, and we just absolutely murder them. So we want to find that balancing point, and again, Matt Mercer is a great example of this. But something else I want to say is that his players help him be amazing at this, because they take their characters seriously. Even if they know that he's going to revive them, they still go through all the motions as if he wasn't. And that space that you give a DM allows them to feel good about giving you your character back, because the drama was there. If your character dies and there's no drama there, you don't care, it kind of makes them feel like, well, you don't take my world seriously then. So it's a relationship, and that's just something I wanted to point out, that players actually play a part in their own deaths as much as the DM does. So this is not something I am saying I am an expert at. This is something that I am continually learning about and continually growing in. And hopefully I gave you a little bit of information to help you guys out in this pretty hard line to walk. But let me know what you guys think about player death in the comments down below. And other than that, I hope you have yourselves a lovely day, and I'll see you on the next one. Later.